How's it, Bills fans? Lance Nelson here, president of Built in Buffalo. To my right, Benjamin Shoop, as usual. Scott Casson over at the Frozen Four today, so we won't have him with us. And since he doesn't like mock drafts, we thought it'd be the perfect episode to go on live and do a mock draft without him in his absence. But first, before we get into the show, I want to just introduce our newest partner and have a little message for our viewers here. And after at least 10 years of carrying extra weight, I finally decided turning 40 was my wake-up call. I want to be the best dad and husband I can be, and I knew that meant taking my health seriously. I've tried doing it on my own before. We all have, tracking calories, trying to be disciplined, but without a real plan or accountability, I always wound up slipping back into the same habits. And that's why I started Awaken 180 Weight Loss. And I'll tell you, I was skeptical at first when they said I would drop weight fast and would actually enjoy the process. But now I'm all in. In my first 4 days last week, I dropped 7 pounds in 4 days thanks to Awaken 180. My clothes are already fitting better, and that sluggish feeling and those sugar crashes are gone. The biggest surprise is how confident I feel in the plan Awaken 180 has built for me. I weigh in again this week, and honestly, I can't wait to see what's next. Fast results and then free support for life. Do what I did and schedule your consultation online at awaken180weightloss.com or call 844-346-1800. All right, and now officially 11 pounds down in a week and a half on Awaken 180. So super pumped, feeling good, energy is coming, and every day is a great day with Awaken 180. All right, Ben, let's get into some quick thoughts here. Some 30 visits here for the Bills. Just take me through one or two of the guys you're most interested in. The Bills it makes sense that the Bills would probably draft a high percentage of guys that they had visits with pre-draft, right? That makes sense. You talk to the guys, you do your homework on them, and then you pick them if they're available. But tell me, which one of these guys is maybe the highest likelihood of being selected first, or who you really hope that they bring in?
Yeah, I'm interested that they brought in Christen Miller from Georgia, just because I did think, if they were going to bring in some of the top defensive tackles, nose tackles in the draft, they might bring in Caden McDonald, might maybe bring in a guy like Peter Woods. I know he's not a pure nose tackle. He has moved around. But I didn't think that they would go with somebody a little bit farther back on most boards. There is obviously a chance that he does go way higher than people think, and inside NFL circles, they're thinking of him higher. But still, a 6'4", 320-pound nose tackle. It would still be a very, very nice pickup. My guess would be maybe this is a guy that if they do, think about trading back, that they do move back for, if you can get him in the early second round, maybe. So I'm interested to see about him. I'm not too shocked at who's coming in, at least on positions wise. You have linebacker, receiver. You had some corners not on top 30 visits, but just with Zoom calls or whatever it was. So I'm not really shocked about, who they're trying to bring in. None of the top, receivers really, like at least top names, like the top, Cardinal Tate or anybody. Same with linebacker. So I'm interested to see if they bring a few more. I believe they still have a little bit of time, if I'm not mistaken, to bring in a few more. So yeah, it's just, we'll see kind of who ends up on that list when it gets to draft day. It'll be a little exciting to kind of see who they're looking at, because I feel like they do usually end up with a lot of the guys that they bring in on top 30 visits. I believe, Cole Bishop, I believe, was one. Hairston, I think, was one. Kincaid, I think, was one. Like, you had an interesting, or a lot of the guys that they have brought in have been top 30 visits. So, we'll see who else ends up on that list before draft day.
Yeah, they did have some combine visits with some of the top, Omar Cooper Jr., Jordan Tyson, those guys. But yeah, as far as pre-draft top 30s, not so far. Dominique Orange, another defensive tackle, where if they trade back in the right spot, could be a good fit for the Bills as well. And it's going to bring some juice to the defense. See what I did there? Please be amused by me. Yeah, so I agree with the Christen Miller thing. I've been reading more and more about him as well, and then we talked about it last week a little bit too with Josiah Trotter. I think that he is a great prospect for the Bills to be looking at, and one of those guys that it's going to be tough based on his projection for the Bills to get. But again, if they do trade back out of that first round, they may get into a spot where he becomes more of a possibility and less of a reach to come to the Bills, or if they got up into the third round somehow, and we're able to get him there, that's would be something that I would enjoy myself. Speaking of that, moving around, what's your favorite sort of draft strategy right now as far as start with round one? And if you want to talk about some others, you can. But as far as round one, stick and pick, try to go up to get more of a top end guy here this year, or maybe fall back and see if you can acquire some more picks to try to bolster your roster.
Yeah, I honestly go back and forth on this. Just, I know most people are on team trade back. That's the most of the what people are saying. But I just go back and forth because I mean, one, it will depend on who's there heavily. They'll go into this draft with 4, 5, 6, maybe even more different routes that they have talked about or they've looked at and said this is what we can do, and depending on how the board falls, this is how we'll go about it. Depending on what offers happen, um, so I mean, they'll have a lot of different ideas of what they want to do, but at the end of the day, the NFL draft is unpredictable. Guys will go way higher than you thought. Guys will go lower than they thought. Teams will trade up with giving up a lot, or they'll get some steals maybe. So it's there'll be shocks. There'll be moves that will throw the Bills off that they'll have to pivot to a route B, C, D. So I don't. I guess I would lean my favorite being trade back, but it will also depend then on like who they passed up at 26 if they do trade back. What are they receiving in terms of trading back? How far back are they moving? So for me, I guess it's tough to say what my favorite is just because there is so many different routes they could take. But I would even like if they went up and got a guy and decided to trade some draft capital next year, which I don't think they'll do, but if they decided to do something like that, that's also a move that I would not shy away from. If they want to go get aggressive and go get a guy that they think, hey, this guy can be a steal if we move up, and yeah, we might give up a good amount, but if we think this guy for the next 5 years can be a guy that on offense or defense will be a game changer, then I think you got to go do it. So it it's tough. I know everybody have their ways, but I think one, we got to see how it goes first, and two, picking at 26 so late in the first round, it's tough to kind of gauge really what can happen because if you're in at 10, 11, 12, you can kind of get an idea of who's going to be there, and there's more options of that top 10 top end talent, where once you get to 26, it's really going to depend on if the Bills even have any guys that they think are worth taking at that point. And
Right.
there could be 4 or 5 of them. You could have Casey Concepcion there. You could have, and any other receiver that you think might fall. Obviously people talk about Lemon and everything, but you guys, Peter Woods, what if he falls? Is he a guy? Caden McDonald, we talked about him. Omar Cooper Jr., who I know you love as well. Like, what if those guys are there? They might have those guys as first round grades and want to go get them, and could be vice versa as well. They could not have those guys as first rounders. Say we don't really care to take these guys at 26. So it's going to depend on who's there heavily. So it's hard for me to say what my favorite is.
Yeah, if they like one of these, top three at their position type guys, whether it's a receiver or an edge rusher, and they slip past 15 or so, and you can plausibly get up there without ruining your entire draft board, I think it's a no brainer to try to do that and be aggressive. That's sort of my mentality with this. Like, I don't know, try to go and just get, if you're sure on a guy, you have that guy in mind, go get him. If you have any doubt that he's going to fall to you, and then there certainly you have to, GMs are successful because sometimes they're patient when they need to be, and they don't rush into that sort of thing. So I don't want to spend unnecessarily just to get up there and get their guy if we could have got him at 26 either. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. And I know it's kind of talking out both sides of your mouth, but it really is the difficult decisions these GMs make really is like, I'm more aggressive, like, hey, let's go get Omar Cooper Jr. at 18 or 20 or 21 if we can, whatever we can do to get up there and just get a difference maker on our offense. But you guys been beating defense into me all week, this past week and a half, maybe 2 weeks now, actually. And it's sort of, if we're going to go that route, I just feel like the guys you're going to take are probably also going to be there at 30 and below potentially. So I don't know that there's going to be someone at 26. And if you want to wait and see and let the board come to you, see what 26 holds, and then make your decision on trading back at that point when, if the Ty Simpson is there for someone to try to trade up into the first round and get that 5th year of control happens, then you get the right offer to, sort of get maybe 2 second-round picks or a second and a third, extra third. So now you have 3 or so day 2 picks, and maybe you also add something in next year's draft as compensation to a 4th or something like that. Then I'm definitely down with that. It's growing on me more of like, yeah, the trade back folks are getting to me, and as it gets closer, it's sort of like, all right, I think I can get on board with a trade back if you're telling me the same caliber guy and the guy that they probably want anyway can be had at the same, at the lower position either way. But if they're telling me I can get Omar Cooper Jr. or maybe Casey Concepcion even, then, go up and get them, even if, especially if it's 22, 23 and they're there. I think you got to move up and try to make that leap just a few spots. I think that's easy, so to speak, to validate. But yeah, I'm interested to see a lot of people, like I say, like you said, just defense and trade back is sort of the heavy favorite right now. And I've been sort of the, let's get aggressive. Let's go get that wide receiver in the first round and make a splash sort of move. But we did get a wide receiver with DJ Moore in that second round pick. So that probably tempers that a little bit, but not out of the question. If one of these guys fall, like I said, past 15 or 18, I think the Bills really have to start making the calls and packaging up some stuff to get there.
I will say one thing. I guess this is one thing that I do know. If they're moving up in the draft, that's one where I'd prefer defense, because if you're going to go up, get a difference maker, that's a guy that likely, because if you're going to get a nose tackle, if you're going to get a linebacker, if you're going to get even a safety, which I highly doubt, or corner, I highly doubt. But if you're going up to get even an edge rusher, I expect those guys to play a little bit more. That's the only reason why. That's really mainly the biggest reason for receiver why I wouldn't want it if you are moving up, is because then it's like, okay, you're spending now even more to get a guy that likely won't get more than 60 targets. I mean, likely, you might even get half that. So that's the only reason why even at 26, I prefer defense. But if a guy like Casey Concepcion falls or Omar Cooper Jr. falls, I'd be fine with it. I'd be happy with it. I think it'd be a good move. If you're trading back, you can do whatever you want. That's the one thing that I'll say. If you're going to move back and add more picks in the later rounds, and even just looking at the D tackles here, like John brings up, Dominique Orange here as well, and Gracen Halton has been brought in, and Christen Miller. Those are guys in that projected like 40 to 80 range, 90 range. So maybe they're looking at D tackle. Maybe that is a thing that they're looking at. Say, hey, we can trade back, still get a receiver, like you said, that maybe there's not a huge difference between a guy like, Chris Bell compared to I see John brought up Ted Hurst, or even a Skylar Bell or Bryce Lance. Like, is it that much different where you can then add both? So that's the one thing I will say. If you trade back, I don't really care about which direction they go when it comes to who to draft first, second, third. If they're going to stay at 26, I'd be fine with receiver depending on the player. I'd still prefer defense. If you're moving up, though, I think it has to be for a defensive player that's going to come in and make an immediate impact. I just don't know if there is that player. The only thing I could see definitely is like receiver. If you're going to move up for receiver, it might not take as much to get a guy that's at very good, like an Omar Cooper Jr. or Casey Concepcion. It might not take as much to move up. Or if you want to go get a D tackle, you might have to move up a good amount, or an edge rusher. If you want to make a big splash, you're going to have to move up a pretty good amount there. Even linebacker, if you want to go get a guy like Sonny Styles, which obviously I don't think they'll do, it's going to take a lot more. So that's the only reason why I could see if they do trade up that they would go for a receiver, is because it might only take 3-4 picks that they have to move up, compared to if
Sonny Styles falls out of the top 10 somehow.
I'm calling
you got to figure that out. You got to try to figure that out. You know what I mean?
Especially because like Miami's at 11. If he gets to 10 at Cincy, like you got to figure out a way to go get him, because he is a difference maker already. That fills a hole, and he's a guy that is just, to me. I mean, I don't think he'll fall there, but you have to go get him. You can't you're gonna let him go to Miami. I know Miami has a lot of holes, and they might even pass on him, but it's gonna be tough to let him go if he can get past KC at 9, especially.
Yeah, for sure. I don't expect it, but I'm just saying that would be a great thing. And then I think we differ in this, like you're saying, the difference maker has got to play right away. I just think that a receiver can come in and play right away. I don't think Josh Palmer and Keon Coleman are guaranteed anything on this roster. I get Shakir and DJ Moore definitely are guaranteed some roles in certain things. Like I 100% agree with that. But outside of those two, I see if we can add another dynamic playmaker that everybody can rotate in, and that dynamic playmaker, if we added Omar Cooper Jr. or Casey Concepcion, let's say, those guys can still rotate in. You could still have Shakir on the outside with Cooper Jr. or Concepcion on the inside if that's where they choose to play, or you can go 4 wide even. You can still this offense is going to be a little bit different. You can have some more splits. You might be able to get some forward wides with a tight end, 4 wides with a running back, or whatnot, or even if it's 3 wide with Kincaid and a running back, you still have the ability to play that playmaker that you'd get in the first round. I don't think it's necessarily guaranteed that someone else is the number 3 right now. I don't think Coleman's commanded that, and I don't think that Josh Palmer has earned that. So maybe Palmer, being a veteran and being more healthy this year, potentially than last year, could see him make more of a rise and more of an impact on this team. But those two are not guaranteed anything in my mind, and I think that the Bills have to do their due diligence to try to get as many weapons in this offense as they can this year. And I don't think that, like I said, I don't think that drafting wide receiver this year precludes anyone from gaining a role, even if the first year wide receiver in round 1 doesn't flash right away. Year 2 brings even more opportunity, and year 3 even the most opportunity for the guy. So you got to look not just at this year, but at years ahead. And we need to start, we kind of did that when Diggs went away. We didn't really have that pipeline of guys coming up that could step into a role. And we tried other guys and it just didn't work out. And I feel like was a little bit of a mistake. You got to start drafting some of these guys now to play in 2 to 3 years, not just this year.
See, if it was 2-3 years ago, I would agree. That's the only thing, is it's not 2-3 years. It's Josh is turning 30 here. You already made a trade for a receiver that's saying, hey, we need to do this now. We need to go now.
Right.
Where
if you end up
sticking so much where he would
and you get Aiden McDonald, that's not making a difference. That's not
that's your nose tackle. You don't have a nose tackle on this team. You don't. I mean, as much as people you can try Deion Walker there, you can try Ed Oliver there, but they are not prototypicals. Ed Oliver would be very undersized for a nose tackle, and Deion Walker, that's not his game. So that's why I think D tackle makes a lot of sense. I'm starting to come around to that. But for receiver, it's not even so much that, he could, where he lines up with the receivers. It's the fact that the offense is what it is. I know that, there'll be some changes this year, but they'll still rely heavily on James Cook in the running game. If Kincaid is there, or even if he's not there, tight end is a big part of this offense. So it's not even if, let's say, you draft a receiver and they're the number 3 receiver, he's still behind in the pecking order of getting the ball in his hands. James Cook, Khalil Shakir, Dalton Kincaid, DJ Moore. That's four guys that are still ahead of him that, you can look at 2-3 years from now. But even with a class like next year, with a very strong class, you could get that guy next year that might even be better at wide receiver 6 in next year's draft than wide receiver 6 in this draft. So that's the only reason why I am heavily just into not so much going receiver. Like I said, I'd still be fine with it. I'd still like it. I think, it would be exciting. It's the exciting pick and make the offense more electric. It's just at this point, And I'm not sure if Palmer's guaranteed will even matter that much, just because of the fact that they know they can get rid of him a lot after this year. But I'm just hoping that if they do go receiver, it is a guy that they'll say, yeah, we want to get that 50, 60 targets. He's not going to be a guy that is going to be a slow start or anything, just because, like you said, like Keon's not owed anything and Palmer's not, like they're not guaranteed anything. So yeah, they get a receiver to come in right away and help out. But I just think if you're going to go first round and especially move up, it has to be defense, because there's a higher chance and a better chance that there'll be an instant impact at a position or a need for the Bills. And there's other positions that you could say that are need over whatever. Like I will say this. I'd rather have them go receiver over corner, safety, linebacker. Like debatably even an edge. Like I'm pretty much team, I guess, all in. If you're going first round, get a D tackle or move back. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. But it's a
Josh
lot of
Palmer
different
does
things.
carry 11.75 million in a cap hit, which yeah, it is a guarantee in money for sure. But I mean, if it doesn't pan out, and he could, they could look for a trade partner. I don't know who would want him necessarily, but some other coach that had coached him previously might say they want to take a chance and get a pick. I don't know, but I don't think that you have to be scared because of Palmer's presence on the team, and I don't think you have to be scared because of Coleman either. When it comes to picking a receiver, if your guy is there and in striking distance, and you have the ability to get a partner with a deal that makes sense for you, then go make it. Go make it happen.
The last thing I will say as well about this specific topic is, if you go receiver first round or your first pick and it doesn't hit, and if it's, let's say, even if it's Omar Cooper or whoever, and they just don't pan out, or they aren't living up to that hype, man, there people are going to look back at that and say, what are you thinking here? Because you
They
just
might,
forgot to
but
get
you can't worry. You gotta trust your work, and if your work says that that he's the guy for your team, and you got to trust that. So I mean, I don't think they can worry about if it doesn't pan out. That's not the way these folks think. It's who has the best chance of helping this team and who has the best chance of working out, and you make that decision. You go get your guy.
I,
So
I did bring up the 2027 class a little bit about, the receiver class. What if it's better next year? It's known, not even just as receiver, just in general, as a better draft class at a lot of positions. There's
yeah,
some positions that, yeah, they might be worse, but most positions are saying this is a deeper class. It's a better class, more high-end talent than this class. That's the big thing with this class. This class necessarily isn't bad. It's pretty deep, but there's just not that top end.
blue
Not a
chip.
lot of first, second round grades. A lot of guys that are, what are they? So, if you're a team, let's say just the Bills right now, just obviously pretending you're the Bills, are you going to favor, like, if you trade back, or if you just even are looking at these picks this year and saying there's not a guy there that we want move back, or we don't really want to pick somebody here, are you favoring getting a 2027 pick back over a 2026 add-on to whatever else you're getting? Like, what is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for sure. I think that you got to try to get some 2027 draft capital if you're moving back out of the first round for sure. But that's just me. I think that it would be nice to throw that in the package, depending on how far back you're moving to. If you're moving back just a few spots to the end of the first round, then you probably can't really expect that unless it's really just, I don't know, if they do like a second rounder next year plus, they're the 29th pick, let's say, or whatnot, but I think you should consider trying to add that into your package. If you're going into the second round for a team to move up into the first, okay, give me 2 picks this year and 1 next year, let's say, and see how that math works out to the value that you have on your picks. And I think that'd be a good part of it.
I think for me, it would just depend. Like, if it's top 100 pick, yeah, that's valuable. If it's top 1 through 2 or 3, like, that's something that I would take into consideration. If it's something about, like, let's say the Bills want to trade back and they want to get a pick this year in the second or third round, then they want to get a second or third next year, likely you're going to probably have to give something else up. If it's like a move up in that scenario where you do give up like a 5th in 2027 to get a 3rd in 2027, yeah, I'd do that in a heartbeat. I do think, though, if you're doing 2 for 1, like the Bills are just straight up moving back, I do think it might be best to add that extra pick this year. Just because I do think their number one issue right now is, for me, especially on the defensive side, depth at a lot of these positions. Where is the depth at defensive tackle that is going to be reliable in the roles they're playing? I know that people can say, oh, they have a lot of edge, they have a lot of defensive tackles, but are those guys going to, one, work out and actually play well? Do they fit the scheme, and are they going to be somebody down the road that they do want as well? So I'd rather have them go depth later, get some depth this year, or even corner. That's the big one I've been talking about. You need depth boundary corners. So if you can get one in the fourth, fifth from a trade back or something like that. So it's tough. It really is tough. I just think it depends what pick you're getting in 2027. If you're getting a top 100, yeah, that's valuable. But if it's anywhere outside, even a late third, I guess is somewhat iffy. But if you're getting anywhere outside the top 100, I don't care about that 2027.
Yeah, I agree. No, it's got to be top end, trying to get up there. Even if you do have to give up a later round pick next year or this year, you got 2/5 this year. So if you give up a fifth this year and gain a higher pick next year, that's all good. I don't know, maybe a second this year and a second next year, plus a fourth rounder or something for the first pick, for the 26th pick, something like that. So we'll see how that all works out and see what they choose to do. And it's all relevant to their value of the picks too, which is also unknown. There's a lot of charts out there, great valuation charts out there around, especially in the Bills community, doing a great job of projecting what the trade values are. But you never actually know exactly what the value is to a GM until the offer gets done. So yeah, we'll see. Again, do other teams also allow people to come get their picks this year for additional draft capital next year? And how often might we see that? That's just something I'm going to keep my eye on for this draft as well.
We've talked about it a little bit, obviously, with the first round of, well, do you want to go with a guy that, down the road can help you save money, like a receiver? Obviously, they're not going to go quarterback, but those premium positions, right? Quarterback, edge rusher, offensive tackle, wide receiver, corner. Obviously, like I said, quarterback, offensive tackle, very obviously highly likely that that's not going to happen. Corner has been talked about, but I think most Bills fans would be shocked if they go corner, just because they already have two of them locked up for the next 4 years. It doesn't make sense to add another one that might not play, kind of similar to what we talked about with receiver. Not as bad though, because receivers do cycle in more, and there's a higher chance that guy could play more. But then there's receiver, edge rusher. They've added both of them this offseason. They added an edge rusher. That's actually the only position that they really have added majorly on defense, is edge rusher. And they added a receiver with DJ Moore. How much would that be? Is that valuable to you in the first round compared to like a position like defensive tackle?
Yeah, it sort of depends on where they're taking. If you're sticking and picking, you're at a point where you're starting to look outside of the premium position potentially. If you move back, you have the potential to look outside of a premium position, but I still think at 26 and moving up, it's going to be one of those premium position guys. And I think that you're more on the edge thing and I'm more on the receiver side of it. So I think both of us kind of want one of the two sort of premium positions. Like the Bills have more depth at like the 4-eye defensive end or the 3 technique defensive, however you want to categorize the odd front defensive end, so to speak. It's that tweener end and tackle, but the rushers are basically at this point like Chubb and Groot, and then you have Hoyt coming in. Hopefully he'll be healthy and ready to go, no problem. He's going to be an exciting player too. So you have like 3 guys really that are going to be truly off the edge potentially in that outside linebacker type role, whatnot. So you don't have all that many or all that much depth. So adding one of those guys, if you can get a really good one early on, would be good to get that premium position. But if you're moving back, you're probably not looking at your first pick being a premium position. You may be looking more at the defensive tackle position or maybe off-ball linebacker. Even at 26, there's that possibility. Although we'd love to have the premium position be the pick every year. It's just, it's just you got to not reach for guys either. So it'd be tough to see what happens.
Funniest part is I don't know if I necessarily actually would be that happy with edge. I'm more on the nose tackle. Like that's where I'm at it. And you could argue whether nose tackle is or isn't a premium position. Some people will go back and forth with you on that. Obviously, if it depends on the type of guy. Like if you're getting a Dexter Lawrence, yeah, that's a premium player, but not necessarily a premium position. Although they do, they can get paid handsomely depending on, like you said, who the player is. So, yeah, it's tough because it is. Yeah, it can be if you hit, and then you don't have to worry about money for 4 or 5 years on that position as much.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But then again, we've also seen premium positions. We were talking before the show about that graphic that showed the Bills on offense, at least. They don't spend a lot, and the top 10 teams, a lot of them actually were teams that are looking right now for guys that are premium positions on offense. They're looking for weapons on offense because it hasn't worked out for them. Some teams, obviously, it has. So it's really tough. You just got to go with, I guess, who you think's the best. But that's the one thing we'll never know is we'll never know the Bills' true draft board.
Exactly. All right, guys, if you haven't done so already, please like and share with your friends. If you're on Facebook, hit the like and the share button. And if you're on X, hit the like and repost button. If you're on X, come on over to YouTube or Facebook and get in on the comment section. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to that YouTube channel and hit that notification button to get notified every time Built in Buffalo goes live. We are the Triple Coverage Podcast here on Thursday nights, sponsored by the Big Tree Inn. It is wing night right now, so if you haven't had dinner yet, go on down to the Big Tree Inn, get yourself some great wings. Wingnuts Buffalo, we appreciate their partnership with John and Quan having us out to meet and greet some players and do some great media over the past year here. Lancaster Indoor Bounce House, good, clean fun for the whole family with the Safari Arcade attached, and 716 Barbershop on Broadway in Depew. Go over to the Cut app and book your spot with Dennis, Matt, or Jacob today. Those guys over there do a fantastic job and great fades, and I obviously need to go see them soon. All right, Ben, let's do this thing and let's get into the mock draft simulator. We're going to use A to Z Sports Mock Draft Simulator. We're going to pick the Bills, just showing, do a 7-rounder, should go pretty quick. The positional premium setting at 6, that's its default. The team needs weight, we set at 7. It was at 8 by default, but we toned it down just a little bit. And then randomness to 3, it was at 4 by default. And the trade-off for frequency staying on the default 5 setting. That's what we're going to roll with here on this episode. So with that, you ready to start this simulation there, Ben?
Yep. Yes, sir. So what do we want to do? Like stop right around like 15 maybe, see what's going on and see who's available there. So right at 15 here. Right now, nothing too major. I still don't think this. I think this is still too high for the Bills to consider at the moment. Where do you think is the highest, I guess, they'd be really looking to move up?
I thought 18 was the target range, probably 15 to 18. I thought probably 18 though. I think you have the Jets obviously with 2 picks there. So if you're thinking they're going to get somebody, you may try to get ahead of them with Tampa Bay if possible, but it's probably going to cost a bit. I'm not sure if you can start getting a more of a reasonable deal between 18, 19, and 20 potentially in that range.
Is there anybody right now that you'd be looking, if they fall a few more spots to that 18, that you'd be looking for?
Jordan Tyson right now is definitely a guy. If he falls a little bit more, we could definitely be looking at that. We'll see some the Jets obviously there. Like that's a guy you could go up with Tampa Bay even and say could be worth trying to take a shot with him. I know he's had some injuries and things like that, but super talented dude. And the injuries have been nothing fluky. They've been real sustained injuries. So hopefully he can just get into an NFL system and have a more luck, I guess, on the injury front.
Yeah. All right. Go to wherever you would like.
That Tyson goes right there at 15, like I was saying.
Casey goes at 19.
Yeah, Casey went.
Oh, Omar.
I should have paused it after the Casey Concepcion pick. That's on me.
I do think it works though, because I do think, I think we both agree. I think it's highly unlikely they do move up, right? at this point in time. Like maybe something changes in a week where it does change.
If you could trade for that 24th pick though, and that's where you get Omar Cooper Jr., I'm all about that. That's a no-brainer for me.
I think Omar and KC are the two guys where you have it at about 18 where you think they can move up. I still think that's a little too high for those types of guys that they would like to. I think I could see, maybe 21, 22 in that area. I do think if a guy like, what was it, Lemon that fell? Was it him that fell? If he falls, if he can get there, like if at 15, obviously he went at 15, but if he makes it to
Tyson was the guy that went to 15, yeah.
Or yeah, Tyson, sorry.
Yeah.
If Tyson drops to 18, then maybe that's a guy, then yeah, they go up and get. Right now, is there anybody that catches your eye right now, at least where we're at 26?
Let's see. I kind of like Messidor. I know he's a little bit older here, but I wouldn't mind if they went that route with 26. Other than that, let's see. Let's just get this filtered out here to the positions we're thinking. If you want some defensive backs in there and some edge rushers. So CJ Allen obviously would be off-ball linebacker guy that you could go get. Everything else is sort of too far down for me right now. I don't think there's much worth it. So if they like, where did Christen Miller end up going? Is he
who?
Christen Miller. Did he already go? Nope, he's there too. So you have Miller potential there. I think his stock's rising, even though ranked 45 here in this simulator rankings. I think he's an option, like we were just talking about.
I do also just randomly, John Omar. Well, he played a lot of slot this past season. He over his career has played everywhere. Most teams don't think that it'll be a problem for him to move around. Right now, at least personally, I do think trading back would be good. I think there's a lot of guys there. What's the offer? Miami. Now
87 and 30 for 26.
I mean, that would be a pretty decent trade. They did something like that similar last year, correct? Or 2 years ago with the Keon year. What do you think? Do you think it's worth to move back right now? Do you think we should call a different team to move back further and try to maybe get something earlier?
Yeah, I don't love trading, obviously, with Miami. I'm not sure who they're coming up here to get. Would love something a little bit further up from 87 as well. So not sure I love this one.
The teams, honestly, that I would look mostly at to trade with probably be New Orleans is a team. You could also look at Cincy's at 41 and that, 39, 30, really 38 to 42 is that range that I would be looking at, just because I think you could then get back a third rounder with it potentially. What are you thinking? Or are you looking farther down?
I was just looking at the teams. I mean, I wouldn't mind going back, but I'm not sure how far back I really want to go further. Let's see who we're missing out on.
Like if we wanted to look at, say, Cincy, right? Cincy's got 41 and they have 72. Right? If you can go, I don't know, that's just the first team I'm looking at. You'd obviously have to give up 26. Obviously, that's heavily on our side.
Yeah, that's about what Miami gave us as far as points go. They gave us about 1,500 points as well in the valuation here.
We could try it. If they don't take it, we could add a 6th or 5th. And wow, they
gladly accepted it. They gladly accepted it.
That was a lot easier than I thought. The 41. I mean, there's still a lot of guys here that we could look at here.
Christen Miller, I think right? I mean, I think you gotta go there. You're at Josiah Trotter here, looking. Hopefully, he falls to 72 for me. That's what I'm looking at. But I think Christen Miller is the pick here.
Yeah, I agree. I think you got to get that nose tackle position. It's not really a reach at this point, like maybe a slight one, but not a major one at all. And can finish out really that D-line, at least starters, which you'd assume that he would come in and be a starter, and allows the defense to really do a lot when you add then another nose tackle. Like, then you can do a lot with guys like Deion Walker and Ed Oliver and really move them around.
But now you're looking at a Jake Golday type player here. at linebacker, or if you like one of these edge rushers, big Raz guy from Penn State, Tennessee, quick twitcher kind of guy.
Ted Hurst is gone, right? Because I just saw John. Who was it? John that brought him up.
Yeah, he was taken, I believe.
Somebody brought up Ted Hurst. Oh yeah, John did bring up Ted Hurst. He did go up, I believe. He's ranked at 66, so it looked like he went to the Rams at 61. So I mean, Ted Hurst, that was a chance. I mean, maybe the Bills do then look to move up even more here and give up some more.
Yeah, I would think they'd try to get into the top of this or the bottom of this second round, potentially with some picks, and move into somewhere in the 58 range, potentially, maybe even a little bit higher if they can. Just try to grab like a Trotter or a Hurst in that regard.
So right now we're at 73 and we still have 91, correct? So next, I mean, right now, really, I feel like there's a lot you could go. You could go receiver, you could go linebacker. The corner safety, I still think, is a little bit much of a reach if they're going to go there. I do like Genesis Smith. I do like him as a player, but again, his safety is that a position they're going to want to take at this moment.
You do need the more center fielder for the future. They brought in some guys, but not necessarily there.
Yeah. But he does also struggle at tackling. What are you thinking right now?
I don't love where we're at here. Let's see. I don't know if we can move back 3 spots and pick up another late pick. Move back 4 spots again. Move back 10 spots and pick up another 5th rounder.
I hate the Vikings one,
but rip it.
Or even that Bears one. Actually, that Bears one I kind of like, because you move up, you get another 4th, and you would then have a pick 81 and 91, so you could get 2 guys close. But it is moving back. I mean, 17 spots.
Moving back quite a bit. Yeah.
We can do whichever one. I'm good with. Really,
kind of like Carolina is actually better than because you're one more back from the Vikings, but getting 5 spots ahead in the next pick.
My only thing would be is they already have 2 5ths. I would be interested to see if they could get that 4th, but if you think the Carolina one's the best, go with Carolina. Go with one that you think is the best, that you would do the best here, because we did the trade back at least we looked at. Which one did you take? Sorry, didn't see it.
The Bears.
Okay, so we're going to be at 89-91. So right now, I mean, Ramsey is still there. I still don't think so.
Kyle Lewis is sort of an easy one at this point, but you do have Barham, which you could probably get. You have Lance there, maybe Muhammad.
Harold Perkins
Jr. is another guy. You're there. Bud Clark's obviously a safety you're going to look at a little bit. So.
Oh, he was looking. I see that Robert was looking at Anthony Hill. Yeah, he's ranked 47th on A to Z, so he would have been probably had to take in at the pick 45 that we had. Didn't really look at him.
Try the edge rusher Joshua Josephs here, or if you want to take the linebacker right now, you could also Barham wouldn't be the worst idea here. But you could also just, if you want one of these wide receivers as well right away, wouldn't be the worst thing. I probably would take Lance here, but could be talked into other as well.
I'm really good with either any of those. Joshua Josephs is the kind of that edge that I think that could fit this team well. So if you wanted to go there, I'd be down with that. Kyle Lewis, I'm not sure if that would be a guy that I would love in this position. Just because to me, he's a little bit, I do fear you already have Bernard. Are they going to want to bring another linebacker that might be able to get thrown around? Right. I am also a fan of receiver. This would be a spot that I would do it. Now we do have 91 and 89. So to me, whichever one you would go
we
for.
Took Josephs with it. Sorry. But yeah, I thought, that's a great idea by you. Let's try to get the edge that, may fit us the best. And then, it's Burks or Bryce Lance, basically you're choosing from here.
Yeah,
I'm
Burks.
biased because my name's Lance, and I would love to have a Bills jersey with the last name Lance on it. So I guess
Lance, see the difference between Lance is that explosive guy where Burks, because he's a little undersized, he's also explosive, but he's more of a he's kind of a weird receiver in the fact that he's 5'10", but he can get physical with it. But both of them are very similar. I mean, they both ran 4.3s. Lance is taller. I think might be able to fit a little better with what they would look for in this terms right now, just because they might want
I'm
a
gonna rep
bigger
it then as
receiver.
long as you're
So
good with that.
I'm good with Bryce Lance.
There you go.
So now we're up at what 126 we got next.
120, yeah, 129, I think, something like that.
So if you click on my team picks, oh John, John, you're sending them. I'm not gonna lie, a half second late here every time.
126 and 129, so we have those both.
Oh, that could work there. Who is he asking about? Malik Benson? Where is he? He's ranked at 304, so that could be a guy that late in the draft that we could look at. So we'll definitely take a look at Malik Benson. 126. So right now, then I feel like they could go anywhere. They could double dip a receiver. They could go corner.
Yeah, sort of like Malik Muhammad here.
Yeah, Malik Muhammad out of Texas. He's a ball hawk, if I'm not mistaken. Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Takario is obviously a guy that's being so tall is one of those guys.
I am a fan of Takario Davis just because 6'4", 440 is crazy. What did Muhammad run? I mean, Muhammad's still 6 feet, still a good height there. Are you leaning then corner here, or are you looking anywhere else? I mean,
yeah,
safety wise,
gotta go defense, right?
Who else is there safety wise? Let's see.
Tafe.
Yeah, safety. Safety is kind of a tough one if you're looking right there.
Yeah, not yet, I would say.
Yeah, I'm down for whichever one. If you're looking corner, if you're thinking, we already went obviously linebacker, edge, and D tackle. Or no, we didn't go linebacker yet, did we?
No, we have not. Yeah.
Linebacker wise, who's their linebacker wise that I'm missing?
Got Lawson and Justin Jefferson, and then Bryce Bachcher.
Yeah. Where are you leaning right now?
I kind of like the Muhammad pick right here.
Yeah, I'm good with Muhammad. I like you said, I've been screaming that they need it. They need help there, and I would definitely be good with that. Now here, I would either say, I think you got to go linebacker some way. The only thing, obviously Deontay Lawson, 2-time captain. We'll see, obviously, if that's something that changes in now this new head coach. If that was a McDermott thing over a Bean thing, it could be. If you're also looking, in general, do they wait at some point for another guy? Is Bryce Bochter there? Is he there as well? He's there.
Yep.
Justin Jefferson's a fun one.
Yeah, that's kind of that's what I was going to suggest here.
Just because I do like the aspect of, they've struggled tackling for years, and now this is a new defense. So, and again, he's right here. It says right there, struggles as a traditional thumper. I don't think he would necessarily have to play that in this defense. So if you want to go Justin Jefferson, add a guy that with the name of at least somebody that people wishes was a Bill.
Yeah. I think the downhill fill ability here of Lawson with the captain is also appealing. So
yeah, I'm good with either. I personally would lean Jefferson. Lawson, I think, could go to the Bills if they're still on that captain and they want the leaders. So I just like Jefferson better as a fill in. Red Murdoch, I did see him. He would be a guy that I think would be 6 or 7 round, maybe 5. You could reach at 5, and I do agree, John. Yeah, you have your top 2 guys. You need just depth corners there. So next we're at 65, 68, and then we still have 1 6th and 1 7th. So
yeah, 4 more picks here to go.
4 more picks. This one's also kind of tough because it's now you really can go anywhere, I think.
Yeah. Can try to fill, a couple defense tackles here.
I don't think they would go to two nose tackles just because I do think they will experiment with one or two of them this year. I don't think they go corner again. What about receiver? Who else is there at receiver? Because we only
Another
have
edge
one.
here.
Unless
Got
you want to
Josiah
wait for a guy like Malik Benson late, we could get him in the 7th. Since John did say him, Red Murdoch as well, we could get
Cameron, I
6th.
think, would be a decent pick here.
Josh Cameron. Did you say? Is that who you said?
One of those guys that sees lack separator athleticism. Like, oh great, do we really want?
But the run after the catch, I could see.
Aaron Anderson's another guy though that I've seen mocked a few times. Route running guy that's quick. One of those guys I think could help the team for sure.
Yeah, 5'7", man. That is short. Could you see interior line here?
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if anybody who's here on the board.
Are there? I mean, I do think it's a possibility just because I do think John was also talking about it. I do think there is a chance, they might look to move Van Granger just because they did bring in a couple offensive linemen. I was a fan of Bo Stevens. Here. He had kind of a down year compared to what people thought a year or two ago, but I do like him. So if you want to go Bryce Stevens, I like that. I do like Coogan, another guy, but he is a center where you just signed McGovern. I'm not sure if you'd bring that in. DJ Campbell's another interesting one just because he's a right guard. And if you bring in a guy like DJ Campbell, can he be that guy that, hey, if they decide not to re-sign Torrance next year, could he fill that role? So I'm really good with Stevens, Campbell. I would be fine with Coogan. I just don't think they would go there. And then obviously Jeremiah Wright is an Auburn guy that I obviously love. So
just not sure if we can get him at the later pick here. We have 182. So kind of waiting.
I do think this is
guys. I think 182, you could get one of those guys or similar.
I do think though this is a spot where like once you're getting to the 150s and higher, so even 125 and higher, that's where you can see guys that are ranked 180, even though on a lot of people like they're all over the place. Sure. I just don't know because right now
we got backs to backs here, and I think like what I would say is let's take the receiver, someone like you want to go Cameron or Aaron Anderson. I think you're probably gonna at this point what's on the board, or another interior defender to just pad that a little bit, and then you can go to your offensive lineman, your 3 picks later here. You got your pick of the litter. So if you had to go, wide receiver, DT, or an edge here, what would you think?
I just don't know if these receivers fit. Like Aaron Anderson is a fun prospect. I just don't know, especially with knee injuries and being 5'7", if that's a guy they would take a risk on.
You can go Trey Moore here, fits in a 3-4 scheme, obviously. So
yeah, I could see them bringing in another guy there another guy that can kind of do a couple different things for you. So yeah, I'm good with Trey Moore.
All right. All over the place. We're going to take Trey Moore at edge, and then we're going to be back up on the board again. Only 3 guys coming off, not much. 2 guys coming off in front of us again. So then you're back at that Jeremiah Wright. If you want him, you got to take him here likely. I'm sorry. You could maybe get him at the 182. We'll see. I don't really know. But if you're liking what he's putting down for you, I wouldn't mind that or Stevens or DJ Campbell here.
For me, I would go Campbell, Stevens, Wright in that order just because it's right guard. And then Stevens, a guy who I was high on but had kind of an iffy year. So I'm good with either Stevens or Campbell, whichever one that you think would be best. I mean, yeah, I'd be fine with Wright. I just think, again, he's a guy that with the frame problems can come into be an issue. Malachi Lawrence, that's who Robert said. Let me see if he is still here. Malachi Lawrence likely went in the top 2 rounds, just because same Anthony Smith. They have him at 371, so he would be a guy that we could take late. We'll take a receiver late, either Anthony Smith or Malik Benson. likely in the 7th round. And then, is this the spot you look at Red Murdoch? How early are you? He's ranked 265 on here, but how early are you ranking it? I mean, right now we're at what, 182, towards that middle of the 6th round, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Early 6th round, maybe. Yeah, first pick of the 6th round. Is that too early for a guy like Red Murdoch?
Got Lander Barton here. Could obviously see that. Can get Scooby.
You want to get fun and get Scooby?
Jimmy Rolder, I think, is one of the guys they just brought in here too. So, if I'm not mistaken,
or do you move back and try to get 2 7ths?
I don't know. I don't know if moving back at this point. I just don't want to. We moved around quite a bit. I wouldn't rule it out, but also sort of like, let's stick and pick for the rest of this thing too. But we could see what where the heck did I see?
No, you can go whichever direction you want. I was just saying that is also something that the Bills might do, is just to get the extra 7th.
I thought I just saw something, and now it's the tab I had it on is escaped me, so apologize for that. But yeah, Red Murdoch's here. Be fine to take him. I think Jimmy Rolder was another guy that was visiting or scheduled. Where is that? I'm not finding it now. You want to go red here?
Yeah, I think I don't think it's too early, because I think he's a better prospect last year than Sean Dolac was. I do think he does get drafted. I think 265 is pretty low for him, if I'm being honest.
Right on.
And I think the Bills, it makes sense. Buffalo guy, go get him. Here, would you want to go receiver in the 7th here? I know John threw out 2 of them, Anthony Smith or Malik Benson. 2 guys that are definitely options down the board late in the draft. Malik Benson is a guy. Let me see. Let me get Malik Benson out here.
Yeah, he's here. And then Anthony Smith, you said? I didn't see him scrolling through, but I could have missed him.
Anthony Smith, I believe, is down a little farther. He's at 371 from East Carolina. Malik Benson, 6 foot, 189. Has played around on different teams, which is fun. Played for Oregon last year. Was at Florida State the year before. Alabama the year before. Community college those other 2 years. NFL.com, Lance Zierlein, who does a great job with these comparisons. He has Will Fuller as like a comp for Malik Benson, former number 1 JUCO product. Like I said, moved around a little bit.
Power to the people, Ben. We'll give Malik Benson.
Electric. Sorry, elite. I almost tried to say elite, and as I was reading electric track caliber speed.
Amazing.
But above average ball skills. So that could be that deep threat guy that they look at late. I would definitely be a fan of that. Anthony Smith is a guy that I actually haven't really heard his name too much, but let me get his up here.
That's it. We got a B+ according to A to Z, and this is the final.
You know what they say, right? Oh, Anthony Smith, corner receiver, because I have him as receiver or corner from Syracuse, but I know he's a receiver. Why is he not? Yeah, East Carolina Pirates.
There you go.
6'3", 189.
So we come away with Christen Miller, DT Georgia, as our top pick in the draft. You get a couple of edge prospects here, a couple of receivers, corner and Malik Muhammad that's pretty likable, and then Jefferson and Murdoch at linebacker, and also an Iowa blocker here, Bo Stevens, that 168 was pretty decent. So
yeah, obviously. Yeah, obviously those last 3 picks, just because they're technically reaches to this site. I like it though, just because there is that, you get the first pick, you get, your guy there to fill the really, to me, the biggest hole that you have. Still get that receiver that you can fit into that rotation. Still get an edge rusher that can fit into rotation. You get a couple linebackers that can fit in there. I'm a huge fan of how this would turn out. I know I sent you kind of a similar one
Yeah.
Was it
I would have
yesterday?
been intrigued to trade back to 30 with Miami, get that extra pick from them, and then trade back from 30 because they picked Ty Simpson at 30, and then see if someone come into 30 if the Dolphins didn't draft Ty Simpson, or even if they did and somebody else wanted another guy in the first round, to see if you could even stack a couple picks there, moving back, once in the first round and then again out of the first round into the second, potentially just stack those kind of picks. That would be an interesting strategy as well.
Oh, shout out Peyton Krebs. I think I did choose him tonight. So sorry, Lance. I forgot to tell you I chose him late. I did get him on a goal scorer today. Forgot my other two. And sorry to interrupt there. 1-0 Sabres though at the end of the first. If anybody's wondering, I got Jack Quinn, Matthias Samuelson. I said Matthias Samuelson. I think it's gonna be a good one. I did throw a small amount on Tage just get a hat trick. I did that last night with Connor McDavid, and guess what? He got a hat trick. So worked out there, and I also ended up doing a. Sorry to get off topic here, but it's towards the end of the show here. It's the last little bit we're gonna be doing. I also ended up getting a Celebrini and McDavid in the first period. Both scored, and I had them in a little parlay.
There you go.
I guess the last little thing, I know we just talked about the draft there. We'll definitely be posting that up on social media so you guys can give us your thoughts on what you think of the drafts more on Twitter there and on social media. Last thing before we hop off here, though, that I do want to ask you about, Dexter Lawrence trade request. One, how feasible do you think it is that the Bills would do that? And if let's say it is a first round pick, it's kind of looked at as first round pick, late first round, early second. If they just said, hey, we'll get a contract extension done with you, bring his number down this year, all we want is your first round pick. Are you doing that?
Probably, yeah. I mean, if it's just the first rounder, yeah, I think that you can easily make understand why that would be doable or feasible, as you said. I think I wouldn't bat an eye at it, honestly.
Yeah, I'd give up more than that, to be honest. I'd give up first and second for a guy like Dexter Lawrence. So that's really the only NFL around the league news we have this week is that. So let us know what you guys would give up for Dexter Lawrence if he's a guy you're interested in. I mean, he's just a freak of nature to me, so I would be a huge fan of that. And John, I don't believe there is a max amount of players. I'm guessing that's what you meant, is maximum amount of players that the Bills can pick up after UDFA. I don't think there is. Right now, I believe the Bills are at about 77 is, I think, what I heard last for guys on the roster. So they'd probably have to add about 10, 15 UDFAs after the drafts. So there will be a good amount of UDFAs that they'll have to bring in. So we'll definitely talk about more options there once it gets closer to the draft, once, especially day 1 and 2 get done. And, once we can talk a little bit more about that. But I do not believe that there is a max or minimum amount that they have to do. But that's going to do it for us. Kind of a different show. Again, not too much current news to talk about. Scott's not here, so we decided to do something that he hates. But it was a fun one to be able to do that with you guys. I know, we wish it could be more intuitive. A little tough when, you guys can't be scrolling down and see what players are available, stuff like that. So, let us know what you guys think once we put it up on social there. And that's all we got.
Follow us on Twitter, on X at Buffalo TCP. Appreciate it. Again, shout out to the Big Tree Inn, Wingnuts Buffalo, 7-1 Slicks Barbershop, and Lancaster Indoor Bounce House, as well as Awaken 180. And tune in next week to find out how much more I've lost. I'm looking to get down 50 pounds. So we'll see how close to 50 I can get with this program. And I'm excited to see how I can start feeling better and better as time goes. But I appreciate all your time. Enjoy the second and third periods of the Sabres game, and go Bills.
Go Bills.